Cheap Homesteading, and today we're in the garage and we are going to be working on the Echo CS-7310P. My friends at T MacFarlane have allowed me to use their demo saw for the weekend, so I'm super thankful to them. They are a large Echo and Kubota dealer in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So if you're looking for a tractor or Echo power equipment, head over there and they'll fix you up. So when I picked up the chainsaw from B&T, I wanted to make sure that the chainsaw was kind of the way it was when it came back from another demo, because then it'll give me a chance to kind of show you guys what I do to get my chainsaws ready to go out to the field. Because you know what? It's really important to make sure that your chainsaws, you go over your chainsaw, make sure it's ready to go, because when it's time to cut wood, you want it to be able to cut wood. You don't want to get out there and need to sharpen the chainsaw or do anything like that. You want to make sure that the chainsaw is ready to go, because you know what? Winter months up here, you really don't have as many daylight hours to do your work, so you want to make sure it's ready to go. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over the whole chainsaw and show you what I do to make sure that the chainsaw is up and ready before my day of cutting. So let's go. So this is what we're working on, a CS-7310P by Echo, and you can tell it's been out on quite a few demos. The chain is super dull. Whenever the guy was trying to cut with it at last, I'm sure, I don't know what he was cutting, but it really dulled the chain. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start off by sharpening up the chain. I've used different sharpeners over the years, and I'm starting just to notice myself reaching for this 12-volt sharpener all the time. It does a really good job sharpening a chain. It's easy, and it's 12 volts, so you can go out in the field and do it if you have to. So this is what I've been using the last couple of years. It is by far my favorite sharpener, just simple and relatively cheap. On the sharpener, you got 25, 30, and 35 degrees. And you keep that lined up with the bar, and then that's 30 degrees. So you sharpen it like that, and then you do this one. Some people say you got to flip it to do the other side, but this is a rotating bit. It's not like a file, so I don't think it really matters too much, and I've never had a problem with it. And that is how I sharpen it. The only thing you do have to remember is when the cutter is this way, when the cutter is this way, you need to have it lined up with the cutting edge. You can't be grinding it like this. So when you go to the other side, it'll be the other direction. You just got to make sure that it's tipped down a bit. And then as you go, you got to keep doing that. So that took about 3 whole turns. I sharpened it, went around 3 times sharpening it till I can actually feel that there's a nice edge on this leading edge. This is the really important part right there. And I find if I put my finger up against it and you just feel it, you know that it's starting to get sharp. So now that we know that the cutters are sharp, I'm going to bring down the depth gauges or the rakers. You know, you can sharpen the chain wonderfully. But if you don't adjust the rakers, it's not going to cut properly. So we're going to bring down the rakers. This is your filing gauge. You set it on here. So it sits on the top of this tooth and this tooth. and then you grind this down. You grind the depth gauge or the raker down just enough that it's flush with the level. We really sharpened this chain, so it really brought down the tooth height, so which raised this. So what I'm going to do is go around with my Dremel, take a little bit off, and then we'll come back with the file and just finish off the depth gauge adjustments. You don't ever want to bring down your rakers or your depth gauges too far, because it'll make it way aggressive and dangerous. But I find when you take off that much off the cutter, you pretty well have to use a Dremel to take a little bit off the raker, because you'll be filing forever. And that's level. Go to the next one. Okay, so you just want to bring down the raker to the edge. You don't want to bring it down past the edge, because that'll make it way, way too aggressive. It's really important to get one of these things, because it gives you exactly the height of the rakers. If you're just doing it by eye, you have no idea. And if it's too aggressive, it's kind of dangerous. So it's good to set it to the right height. And with the gauge, you actually know that it is. So the chain is sharp. So we're going to go over the rest of the chainsaw and make sure that it's ready to go. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is remove the chain cover. And we're going to blow out all the sawdust out of the chain cover. The reason for that is, especially if you're cutting where there's a bunch of snow, the more sawdust you have jammed in here, the more it collects moisture when you're cutting and you hit a bit of snow, and then it tends to want to freeze up. I don't know if these chainsaws had that problem, because I haven't really tried it in heavy snow, but a lot of chainsaws do. So it's really important to make sure that you blow out, clean out around your chain brake, clean up the bar, make sure the oil passages are all clear and ready to go. Okay, so we blew out all around the clutch, around the tensioner, and your oiler. Make sure there's no dirt in there. And clean off the bar. It's really important to make sure you blow out these holes. That's how the oil gets into the bar groove. That is important. Right now we're just going to snug it. We're not going to tighten it up fully, because I have to adjust the chain. Hold up on the bar here, tighten it. Roll it. I think that is good, and then tighten up. So we got the chain and the chain brake area all cleaned out and serviced. We're going to take the air filter cover off. These are quarter turn that pulls off. Man, You know, Echo came out with this system that keeps dirt out of the filter. And I know that the chainsaw's been ran quite a bit, and there's a lot of dirt around the flywheel and around the pull cover. So I know it would have been sucking it in. What happens is the air gets introduced, it swirls around, and it's supposed to try to keep the dirt out of the filter, and it kind of does. It actually, the filter for the most part is actually pretty clear, but we're gonna blow it out. I actually do like these clips. They work really, really nice. There's a little bit of dust in there. I'm going to blow that off. One thing I wanted to mention is whenever you have the top off, if it looks like the fins are plugged up or you got sawdust in there, blow in there. These were crystal clear, so I didn't even think to actually blow it out, but that is a good thing to keep in mind. Your cooling fins on your cylinder, if you see that a bunch of dust is getting contacted and stuck in there, blow that out. You don't want it to overheat. So there you go, we are ready to go. We're just gonna throw some fuel in it. Make sure you use premium gas. Okay, so she's got lots of bar oil. So we are good to go. We're gonna fire it up, make sure that the oiler works and it runs. Okay, so she runs good, and you can tell that it's oiling because it's leaving a strip of oil flailed off the chain. So there you go, she is ready to roll. So that's what I do to my chainsaws before I get out in the field. It's really important to make sure that you get the chain sharp, the oilers are working, it's running good before you get out there, because really, no one wants to be out there and then trying to fight with the chainsaw. So my goal is later today, we're gonna get out with the chipper, and we're gonna bring out the CS-7310, and we're gonna see if we can clear a little more land in the pasture. If you've been around the channel for a bit, you've seen this pasture. It's been dragging on for years, and I really do need to get a little bit of a moving on it. So that's about enough for today. You guys have a good one.